Welcome in, Hornets fans. You are watching, that's right, I said watching Hive Talk live here on thehive.com. It's Hornets Talk for the hardcore fan. I'm your host, Doug Branson, and this is our video breakdown series. Now, I'm sitting here in the Gittimer.com studios in Uptown Charlotte where we normally record the show. And by the way, we'll be back on the air live September 1st, 6 o'clock p.m. We'll be back on our regular schedule, so make sure if you haven't subscribed to us on iTunes and Stitcher yet, go ahead and do that. Get those alerts set because we'll be back on the air. David will be joining me as well. But we decided to do this video breakdown series mainly because we have so many new faces coming to the Charlotte Hornets in 2015, 2016, and we wanted to give you a little bit of a taste of what to expect. You know, what kind of game can you expect from guys like Jeremy Lin and Nicholas Batum and Frank Kaminsky, among others. Now, in this first video, we're going to focus on Jeremy Lin, and I couldn't do this alone. I had to enlist the help of a certified expert, and boy, do I have one. Joining us here is Seth Partnow. He is the managing editor of nyloncalculus.com, great website, basically a standard bearer for the advanced stats community in basketball. And he's also a writer for bballbreakdown.com. So this guy knows his stuff. Seth, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Now we're taking a look at Jeremy Lin in this first video, Seth, and specifically what Lin does when he drives to the basket. So there are a variety of things one can do. A couple of fast facts on Jeremy Lin. He was in the top 35 in drives per game, so this guy does his fair share of driving. Actually, a quarter of his shots come on the drive, or came within 8 feet of the basket, I should say, and that's about 8% higher than your average guard. So we have 4 or 5 plays here to take a look at. Seth, again, just a selection of plays that show off the different things that Lin can do when he drives the basketball. I believe this first play is showing what one normally does. I would take a guess what one normally does when they drive towards the basket, and that's finish on a layup. So let's take a look at that first play. So what do you see in this first play, Seth?
So the two things you see about this play are, first of all, Lin's explosiveness of beating the man at the point of attack. Especially going right in the pick and roll. You see how he kind of drives right at, I believe that's Nick Collison's hip, gets really low to the ground, and then beats him to the basket, or beats him around the corner. And then the second thing is his ability to kind of slide by help defenders at the rim. This is the classic Jeremy Lin layup where he's kind of almost semi-Euro stepping on the right-hand side of the basket to kind of go inside the help defender and finish. And this is kind of the best of Jeremy Lin.
Yeah, you're right, Seth. That first step, really explosive and really deadly, especially when he's going to his right and he's able to quickly turn his body, get towards the basket in a hurry. And something else I noticed, when he launches, his feet are very far apart. They're very separated. What do you see in that? Where is that coming from?
I think maybe that some of that is he's horizontally pretty quick. He's not the most explosive vertically, and a lot of that is, I think he's even in this play, that play where he's beating a single defender, he's kind of going around and under and using a little more trickery rather than exploding over the top and finishing kind of over and through a defender. And I think in some of the other plays you have queued up, we're going to see maybe how that's a little almost limiting to him.
No, it's a great segue there, Seth. Let's take a look at this second play. Now, this is a drop-off play because Lin, he gets a little more resistance at the rim this time. Let's take a look and see what he does.
So the first thing you notice this one is, again, I talked about on the last one how he's very explosive going to the right. In this play, doesn't quite have the same explosion going left. He has an advantage both times, kind of coming off the pick and roll, and the first time he actually goes back behind his back to decline the pick because he's not as comfortable dribbling with his left hand. And even when he uses the pick, he doesn't have the same explosiveness turning the corner on the help defender. He's kind of does a little hesitation move, and he ends up making a nice dump off inside. But that's a play that takes a long time to develop and isn't quite with the same kind of quickness and explosion as he showed in the previous play going to the right. And I think this is something that kind of after the initial insanity feeling period got found out about him a little bit. Is he's very right hand dominant, so that's something to look out for. As if teams are disciplined about forcing him to his weak side, it does limit his effectiveness a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's something that Lynn has talked about wanting to improve going left, and I think it's something he has continued to improve throughout his career. But you're right. I mean, it's still pretty apparent that he's not as explosive going to his left as he is going to his right, which is fair because, I mean, when he goes to his right, he's extremely explosive and just has that amazing first step, as we've already talked about. But one thing I do notice about this as well is that when he goes under the basket, creates a lot of confusion. He's able to keep his dribble alive. And, you compare him to guys like Tony Parker and even Kemba Walker, the Hornets' own point guard, who have implemented that as part of their offensive repertoire, going under the basket and then creating confusion in the defense. I mean, do you see some similarities there between him, Parker, and Kemba?
Yeah, and that's actually what we're going to get to in, I think, the next kind of series of videos. I don't want to be too negative on him, but that's kind of his ability to keep his dribble alive and kind of make time and space for himself is something he sometimes struggles with when he gets kind of really down inside against multiple defenders.
Yeah, it sounds like if he can get past that initial resistance at the rim, that he can get creative and make some different things happen. Now, we have a third play, and this play, again, Lynn finds resistance at the rim, but he decides to do something just a little bit different. Let's take a look at that play.
So he makes a nice play here. Partially, it's hard to totally tell because the spacing of his big man, in this case, Bob Sacre, isn't great. If Sacre kind of pops back behind him for I don't know exactly what he's looking for there, but that you would normally hope he would kind of roll to the basket and that would clear the pass out to the top of the key a little bit easier. So in some ways he's put in a tough situation by his teammates here, but also you see he kind of gets trapped down on the baseline a little bit, and if he was able to again, watching in slow-mo here, maybe one dribble fewer and make the same pass to the top. He does make a nice play here, but you can see he's almost gotten himself into that coffin corner under the basket before he's able to look up and spot the shooter at the top of the key.
I think it's amazing that he's able to stop on a dime there at the baseline and basically get his body balanced enough and in position to make that pass out for the three-pointer. Again, to me, it just shows an ability to adjust on the fly and creativity. Go ahead.
And just to finish up on that thought, it's not totally his thought. If on his kind of second to last dribble, that pass would be there if I think if Sacre had kind of rolled more towards the basket instead of popping out behind him to the 3-point line, because that would sort of help to clear the defender who's kind of lurking in the passing lane for much of the play. So again, you don't want to hold it against him when a teammate is kind of getting in his way a little bit here.
No, right. I mean, this is a team game. So as a point guard, you not only have to deal with what the defense is giving you, but you also have to adjust on the fly according to how your own offensive players are spacing or how they are adjusting to what you do. I think this particular play shows that Jeremy Lin, has that creative ability and ability to keep his balance and dribble alive long enough to make something out of nothing. I mean, he has a great instinct for making plays. But at the same time, and this is what we're going to take a look at in our last set of plays, Seth, there's a dark side to that. There's a flip side to that where when you try to make plays, sometimes, they result in turnovers. So we have two turnovers here, two plays. The first against the Blazers. I want to take a look at them in the sense that is there something we see here that is, you can definitely point to and say, okay, well, this is what caused the turnover. What do you see here in this first play against the Blazers?
This is kind of what I was talking about a little bit on the first play, where he kind of explored to the basket going right, which again he's very good at. But then, as part of his tendency to kind of want to slide by the first defender and then contort his body and shoot a layup. In this case, there's multiple defenders there, and so his kind of his lack of elevation there kind of gets him hung up with nowhere to go. As he's stepping by the first defender to his left, he's running straight into Chris Kaman as the help defender here, and he's kind of got nowhere to go and ends up with kind of an ugly turnover.
All right, and this second play here against the Minnesota Timberwolves, again, kind of committing very far, but this time he tries to pass out of it. What happens here?
And again, this is a similar situation to the one we saw, the previous one we saw. It's that one dribble too many along the baseline that kind of puts him in that coffin corner and forces him into really what's a tough one-handed pass. I think a lot of players who are really adept on the baseline, they'll either stop one dribble shorter and make a play kind of from the short corner, or be able to explode fast enough so they're making that pass kind of from almost all the way under the basket, rather than having to throw it across the entire width of the free throw line.
Now in this play, is Sacre again, is he out of position? Is there something he could have done to sort of make this a little bit of an easier play for Lin to get out of?
Again, that's some of that. This is the Lakers' poor spacing. You see they have 4 players below the free throw line, and the player at the top of the arc, I think that's Wayne Ellington, I can't totally tell, but isn't offering himself as a good option. So yeah, Sacre is kind of almost making this a quadruple team on him, with the 2 defenders and then Sacre and his man in the play. So it's a similar situation a little bit. But again, as a point guard, you would hope that he could see that congestion and kind of either back his dribble out or don't dribble all the way into that kind of mass of bodies.
Right. So again, we see there a little bit of a mix of overcommitment by Lin, but also some poor spacing by the Lakers. So we want to end each of these with a context question, something sort of, to look forward into 2015 and 16. And another area that Lin is looking to improve is his mid-range game. Seth, do you think that there's a possibility that he uses his ability to get to the basket to open up more mid-range looks?
Yes. I don't know how much the shooting part of it is, more like we've talked about, taking just that one dribble less so he doesn't get caught under the basket, and then making a play from there. That might open up some better passing angles to hit teammates. And if the defender is really overcommitting to defending the basket area, then maybe, yes, he can have a nice kind of 12-foot, 15-foot pull-up from that area. Again, the mid-range game in his case won't necessarily be his shooting. His jump shooting, especially off the dribble, has never been a strength. So, but kind of to vary speeds a little bit, to give him more time and space to operate from the mid-range in the situations where attacking all the way to the basket might not be available as it is sometimes.
Great analysis there, Seth. You can follow Seth on Twitter at Seth Partnow, or make sure to check him out on nyloncalculus.com and at bballbreakdown.com. You can check us out on at thehive.com and hivetalklive.com. Make sure to subscribe to us on iTunes and Stitcher. We're going to be back on the air September 1st at 6 o'clock p.m. You won't want to miss it. It's going to be a big show. We're going to be talking about training camp and what to watch for and all kinds of different things. So make sure you check us out then. Until then, watch out for the next set of videos. Frank Kaminsky, Nick Batum, so much more. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is Hive Talk Live. It's Hornets Talk for the hardcore fan. Let's swarm, Charlotte.